the allure of King's Cross, even before, I can't remember a time when that allure wasn't there, and so my earliest reading and writing, there seemed to always be references to King's Cross, whether it was, my dad's truth form guides or, post, there was always references in daily newspapers to King's Cross, and the allure just built and built and built, and heck, it was all true. And so, I was in a position in the early 80s where I had a bunch of friends who were deciding to set up a travel business where they'd take rock and roll bands around the country, and we used to do test flights. What other destination to go to in Australia?
Where are you coming from?
From Melbourne,
yeah,
to King's Cross, and that's where we'd go and we'd hang out, and the reputation of the Cross was just true. And there was one particular place that we'd have to always go to first, and that was Benny's. And then you'd have to be invited upstairs at Benny's, which was, as I understood, was like a mini market for pharmaceutical products that you couldn't get on, chemists' shelves.
What, like drugs?
Drugs.
Like Coke and Smack and...
Oh, Coke. Speed.
Yeah.
In quantity.
Now, where was Benny's?
It was definitely a restaurant masquerading. That was just a front for what actually went on there. And so what would happen, we'd go there, and because we'd have a plane waiting for us. This is ridiculous. We'd have about an 8-seater plane, and
what, like Mascot Airport or something?
Yeah,
like
Mascot, and we'd just come up on a Friday night, and aim to be home, as the sun rises in the morning, the next day back at Moorabbin Airport. And we did this on several occasions, anyway, there was one particular person who was just our great contact there, and he was an exuberant guy, very exuberant. Honestly, he didn't really need any pharmaceuticals to help him. He just was born with one of those full-on personalities. Nick Apocalypse was his name, and he was an apocalypse. Anyway, we'd go and do the business at Benny's, and then by that time it was pretty late in the evening, we'd go to the manzil room, and Nick had a thing for pulling his dick out, and he even had a name for it. It was called Charlie Nogger, and it was another personality altogether. Now, we were here one night, and there would always be rock and roll people in there, and we'd be hanging out with them. And
the manzil room was like a rock and roll hangout, yeah?
And people would just go there. It didn't even matter what band was on, and it'd be very late at night. Like, Melbourne had a few late night venues like Bombay Rock and that, and they were sleazy, but they didn't beat the manzil room. And one night, I'll never forget, we were there, and there was Eric Burden, and Eric Burden liked to drink, Nick liked to drink, and we were all standing around in a circle, and suddenly Charlie Nogger popped out and slipped into Eric's pocket. And Eric didn't realise what was happening, and Nick was trying to motion someone to take photographs.